I started traveling with EO back in 1985. And so about every year I go with a group. And over the years, I've got to know a lot of tour hosts. Being a bishop, we have many of our pastors as tour hosts. And so whenever I get ready to go, usually I'll talk to some tour hosts, or they'll often call me and say, where do you want to go next? And I'll say, well, where do you want to go next? People wanted to go to Ireland, and we found out about the Wesley thing. We put the two together, and it's like, wow, this is a winner. And so we had tour hosts that recruited this Wesleyan Ireland. But what I learned is that the people went because they wanted to experience Ireland. And then the Wesley parts just filled in, it was like icing on the cake, if you would. It was our stop at Ballingreen to visit the Emery Heck Memorial Church that was built in 1766. And that was a church that John Wesley visited 13 times. And it was also the church where Philip Embury and Barbara Ruggles Heck came to America in 1760 and 1765 to start the first Methodist church in America, which is now St. John's Church in New York. They had to leave because of the famine, but they were part of Wesley's societies. And so when they came to the New World, they just had to organize again and start preaching, and gathered a small group that started the Methodist Church. And so when we arrived, there was a pastor waiting for us to give the kind of local tour, and her name was Ruth, and she had this kind of red hair. She actually looked very Irish, like you would expect, and she was all energetic. And we walked in that building and realized, had it not been for the ministry of that community there, we may not have had a Methodist movement, at least a church. We would have had a movement, but not the church that they had started. And so we felt like we were on holy ground, and we were visiting our ancestors in the faith. It was wonderful. I must say, probably it was the scenery, especially in the southwestern part of the island, and then up in the northeastern part, up in Northern Ireland. Just absolute gorgeous scenery. Felt that we were on a movie set the whole time. I mean, every turn, these small little villages right along the water. It's just like, oh wow, look at this. And then when we got up to the giant causeway, the scenes are just over the top. But the sun and the sky, the cliffs and the waves, the natural formations, it made you feel like God had taken a long time to sculpt this landscape, and you were on holy ground just because it was so beautiful. It was very good food, quality food wherever we went. The lodging was really nice. The tour bus was as good as any I've been on. It was just kind of an exciting place to be. The people there, as you might expect, are very lively and very welcoming. And yet there's enough different to make it interesting. And yet it's comfortable enough that you really don't have to change any of your diet or shopping habits or things. But personally, if you are vaccinated and you're willing to honor the local masking policies, I think you're very safe here. The number of people in Ireland that are vaccinated approaches something like 90%, and it's an island. And the regulations are very consistent. Almost everybody wore a mask where they were supposed to, and every restaurant room you went into, restrooms, had things on the floor to keep distances and so forth. I think it's safe. Ireland is certainly a safe place to travel now. And with all of the pandemic we've had, most of our pastors and ministry leaders have really done a wonderful job trying to get on to Zoom and other formats for communicating with their congregations, having online worship. Many of our pastors had not had a lot of that technology, but they've done it. And so because of that, a lot of them need a break. And so the pastors, I think, need to travel because they just need to refresh, to relax, and to get some new ideas. They also, I think, when they go and they take a group from their church, for example, they develop a deeper relationship with their members who they travel with than they normally would, because it's this sustained time together and shared experiences. So I always encourage pastors to go early and often when they can, because it broadens their perspectives. It improves their preaching. I always return home with the world feeling smaller and me feeling a little smarter about what I know and what I have learned from the people I've been with. I think EO's travel is special because it lets people talk about the fullness of life and things that matter.